Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Richard, do I have a mark on my face? It really hurts.
Nope, nothing. I thought I hit you on the shoulder.
My shoulder doesn't hurt very much, but my face does. Right here. Not here or here so much, but right here.
Nope. Ship shape.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a relationship expert, coach, media personality, and speaker. She is the author of Relatable, How to Connect with Anyone, Anywhere, Even If It Scares You, coming out this fall, 2021. She has appeared as a relationship expert on Lifetime's Married at First Sight, TLC's Kate+Date, and as the host of FYI's Kiss, Bang, Love. Love the name of that. Thrive Loud listeners, get ready to relate and connect with Rachel DeAlto. Hello, Rachel. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Lou?
I am as good as I can be because I am talking to another master connector, somebody that seems to have been put on this planet to really help bring people together. And I love helping to paint the picture. I know a little bit about you because I got to meet you recently. We met in Las Vegas in July of 2021 at Influence at some bar, watching some soccer match or something like that. And I know your story, but our listeners don't. Can you do this? Can you help share with the listeners how what you're doing now became your gig?
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to do the short version. And I was so happy to meet you and connect with you, another connector in Vegas. But I was a lawyer who had an idea for a startup. This is about a little over a decade ago. Created the startup, funded the startup, gathered about $2 million in placements, and it was in the dating space. And my intention was to be a lawyer running a dating company. That did not go as planned, but we had a ton of media around the startup idea. Started doing media. They were like, oh my gosh, you can come back on and give us your opinions. And I said, I have opinions on everything, it turns out. And so I started doing television as an expert and in the dating and flirting and relationship space about a decade ago. And that just has evolved where I, from a responsibility standpoint, was like, well, then I need to go learn more because people started asking me for coaching and I started speaking and talking about relationships, and obviously took a lot of what I did as a lawyer, as a mediator, and brought that into what I was doing now. But went back, became a coach, became a hypnotherapist, got a master's in psychology, all those things. I just decided to spend a lot of money and get more loans, and then ended up where I am today. And so I've been doing this for about 10 years now.
What exactly?
That's the short version.
No, that was spectacular, and I love this because. One, we really need to have like a special feature with all of the people who started out as attorneys, went in one direction and then dropped and said, we got to do something else. I'll make it clear I'm married to somebody who did that. So it seems, there's just a lot of people in law school and eventually you figure it out. But I will tell you this. I love what your overall message is about because in this work in the avenue that you've picked, you're driving into something that's real important, and that is what makes us connect. So can you share with the listeners, you have a term, and you call it relatability. And I have a feeling that's something that's real key to how we connect with who we connect with.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So when I left Married at First Sight, I was getting these thousands of messages from every platform saying, why did you leave? You're the most relatable expert. And I started wondering, what does that mean? What is relatable? What are the qualities of it? And why are they feeling so connected to someone that they've never met? They've only seen in a one-way situation. So I started to study what I thought would be the most connecting human beings out there. And it came down to this key factor of relatability. And, I think a lot of times people think that you have to be super aspirational, or which aspiration is fine as well. But I think the connection comes when you can see yourself in another person, and when you can relate to them from who you are, see yourself in another person, and then connect based on, likes and similarities, but also differences. And so I created this structure of what I thought really did create a relatable human being. And that's what started this whole movement. I hope it becomes a movement. That's my intention. That started off with a keynote, turned into a book. And that's where I live now.
You live in that world.
I do. I just live here.
We're in a weird world right now, Rachel. We just came out of a global pandemic, or who knows if we're still in it or not. I don't exactly know when that end date is. It's definitely a linger. And I'm in complete agreement with you as someone who loves to connect with others. I always thank the high and mighty for having a podcast so I can have great conversations like this, because it enables me to connect to those when normally we couldn't connect. And because of this, a ton of people have had tremendous issues, anxiousness about meeting other people, going out even to talk to other people. Has our relatability changed from the global pandemic? And have you captured maybe the ways that you can become more relatable in this environment?
Oh my gosh. So this was a problem before COVID. Pre-COVID, social anxiety was an enormous problem. Anxiety and depression was an enormous problem. Obviously, all of this plays into how we connect with others, because as you know, a lot of connection comes down to how you feel about yourself. And so it's building in that inner knowing of I am worthy of connection to get out there. And that just was a challenge before. And now in this POCO world, I think Aaron King used that word. Now I'm totally stealing it. I was like POCO everywhere. But yeah, POCO, it's become such a bigger issue. And those rates that are typically, they'll go up and down in terms of anxiety and depression, I have just stayed there. So I've definitely seen where people who were kind of on the brink are now having a bigger challenge. And so it's coming back to the basics. And, it's really, I talk about these pillars of connect, communicate, inspire in terms of relatability, but also within them, it's how do I connect in the most positive way? How do I deal with my own inner challenges or inner critics in order to prevent myself from, jeopardizing potential connections? And that is so much more of a focus after COVID than it ever was before, because it just exacerbated all of those challenges that we were dealing with previously. And so I think we're going to have another, there's already a loneliness pandemic. I think there's going to be, a social anxiety issue as well.
I wanted to get down this avenue because you help with relationships and helping people understand this. I'm going to share a quick sidebar story. Right when things started to open up in New York City, wife and I went out to a restaurant, and sitting at the table behind us was a couple that I love to call that was COVID affected. I think they're living in an apartment in New York City, probably just the two of them. I mean, if they were able to survive that dinner and the fight that they were going through, I'd be shocked. But my wife and I talked about it, how challenging it was for a lot of couples, from the ones who were together. And then there was the other challenge from the ones who were single, who now couldn't meet people and were trying to figure out what's the right way to do that. From the work that you do, by the way, which means you must be busy. But I also want to say, how much of that are you seeing in the work that you do?
So it's very interesting in terms of relationships for people who were quarantining together and who experienced COVID together. It went one of two ways. There's no way around it. It's either it's strengthened because you realize that you actually like the person that you've chosen, or you've completely disintegrated the relationship that you had. And so we've seen a lot of breakups, divorces, which is understandable. I think anytime you put people into a pressure cooker, you're starting to see the reactions to that pressure. And sometimes it's not pretty. So that's the relationship side of things. I'm also Match's chief dating expert. So I had a very, very firm finger on the pulse of dating. And that was an enormous challenge for singles who felt like, hold on a second, this is my time. I want to be able to meet people my biological clock is ticking and now I'm stuck at home. Like, how does this work? So people had to really adapt in terms of video dating and really getting creative there. And love did win. I mean, there was a lot of action online. A lot of action is a good word to use for that. I don't know how much action, but it was very busy.
Listeners need to know, I already have a slight cold, as you can tell by my voice. I'm already red as can be with that comment, that there is a lot of action going on there. So we're trying to get Rachel to that same color.
I don't get embarrassed. The things that I've talked about on television.
Oh my goodness. Maybe we'll show we will provide links, people, so we can see some of the best of, so you can get Rachel at her best.
Oh gosh.
Let's talk about, spin it back to the workplace. And I've got a good relatability connection question as it relates to the workplace, because I'll use this story. I'm working with a client that I finally met in person after a year and a little bit, after like 14 months. And, nothing really changed. We've been close and connected this way. But there's some real challenges in how the workplace is working, how to make yourself relatable from the way you are virtually here to the way that you are in the office. Talk to me about those that are in jobs or working for companies, how they can be relatable and use connection to their advantage.
Yeah, you have to find the humanity in the conversations, and you have to get real, and there has to be a little bit more personal in the workplace in order to feel like you're connected. Because when you're completely virtual, you miss the coffee conversations, you miss the grabbing drinks after work. And you and I both know, like, we met at a bar at a conference, not in the meeting, in the bar. And that was one of the best times that I had there, because you're able to let your guard down. You're able to get a little bit more personal, and that's what creates the connections. So in order to make sure that a virtual or a hybrid workforce still stays relating to each other, you have to create opportunities to meet in person at some point. I believe that those touch points of in person is absolutely essential. I think we're going to see a rise in people having more conferences, more retreats, more ways to connect in person, because you and I both know, once you can get to a point virtually, but then once you meet in person, it solidifies that and it takes that relationship to the next level. So I think that's definitely going to increase. But if you aren't at that point where you can meet in person, then you have to get to know each other on a more personal level, because otherwise you're definitely going to miss some of that connection that is going to result in people being more loyal, more efficient, more productive.
Listeners need to know that, yes, we met in a bar, but my wife was there, and your husband, also listening to this episode, should know it was totally professional conversation.
Yes, there was about 25 people there. So we created our own networking event watching. I guess we should call it football instead of soccer.
No, it was the Euro 2025.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
very good.
I was saying
we were with a Brit who has been a guest on this program. We'll leave his name out of it because he gets already too much attention. And he's also a good friend, but you'll figure it out in the show notes. And therefore, you know that we had fun while we were there. But this is important. You make a great point. When people are in those environments and they have a chance to connect in that place, you and I both are speakers, and in-person events are only just now starting to come back. And what I've learned in talking to many clients and many people, they need to go back and connect with others. They want that conversation in the bar. They want to chat in the waiting room outside of the keynote address, or in the hallway, or at the cocktail dinner that's at the event. And I think that there's something really important to that, because that is now like, get me there. Do you agree there is an absolute craving, almost like, please let me get out of my home office, out of the place I'm working, and go see other people?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And it's funny because you're seeing that in terms of anything that people are invited to now. Typically, you get a 50% response rate. The response rates for weddings, for events, for in-person meetings are now through the roof, because people are craving that connection. So you're seeing it on all sides of the spectrum, just because I think after being, on lockdown for so long, you realize what you were missing. And I think that's really one of the benefits of, if we're gonna find the silver lining, is because we recognize that we do value that human connection so much.
So I want to pull the curtain back and get the listeners to know a little bit about you. Something you mentioned earlier, I want to bring back full circle. What makes Rachel DeAlto relatable?
I think it's because I do embody what I talk about, and what I talk about is that connect, communicate, inspire trifecta. And connection is all about being real and being real in all of the facets that I am. Sometimes I'm buttoned up. I pull out that, the law degree background and I could be as, professional as possible. And then other times, I'm weird and goofy and I hope funny. At least I think I'm funny and I laugh at my own jokes all the time. And then, the communicate part is I like to stay present, and I try to practice mindfulness as much as I can and be present and adapt to the situations that I'm in. And then the third is the inspire, which to me, it's the purpose. We talk about finding your why and your because, I call it the then what, but they found, it was actually this is such an important little side note that I have to share because I just read this study where, social media we have all this FOMO, we have all this comparison, but people who have a purpose aren't as affected by what the responses are on social. So that's definitely something that I think shines through, or hope that it shines through with me.
Love it. I love asking guests this question. I'm very curious to see where this goes. Look, you're thriving in your practice. You've made that wonderful transition from the previous life, bridged it into another, doing something new, got a book coming out. Most people who listen to this program would agree you are thriving. But we all have days when we're not quite on our A game and we're a little off our game. Rachel DeAlto, what practice do you seek, or what individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
I am a big fan of the pause. So I just had, I had elbow surgery recently and I got really sick from the anesthesia. I just had a weird reaction to it. And I gave myself grace of a pause, and I was definitely not thriving. I couldn't read anything without getting tired or nauseous. So I just gave myself a minute. And I think so often when you are a thriver, you're typically a hustler and you're a workhorse and you're constantly moving towards goals. And sometimes you have to take a break. Yeah. And I think that's really what I do is I'm really good at knowing when I have to reset and just take a minute.
Love it. Let's do the admin part of the show. You have a book coming out. Let's talk about that. Actually, let's talk about that first. Tell everyone about the book and then bleed into where they can get it, where they can find it, and where they can find you on all your lovely social channels, websites, URLs. We will put it in the show notes, but it gets way more engagement when they hear it from you.
Awesome. So the book is Relatable, How to Connect with Anyone, Anywhere, even if it scares you. And that's really a prime part of it, is because I think connection can be scary. So I want to work people through all of the steps that it takes to connect. And obviously that is my passion, as we've been talking about. I am Rachel DeAlto everywhere. It's pretty much everywhere, whether you're going on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, which is my jam now. Big fan of TikTok. And RachelDeAlto.com is my website. And you can buy the book anywhere books are sold. I love saying that, by the way.
It sounds, you used to hear it on the TV all the time, wherever books are sold. Right. For the listeners need to know, it's RachelDeAlto.com, because Rachel has so many different spellings. Who the hell knows where it is? But we'll put it in the links in the show notes. We've already been having fun, but I want to go down Fun Street with you, Rachel. Are you ready to take a drive down Fun Street?
I'm ready. I think I live there.
I love it. And you could tell listeners need to know there's a smile that is just spectacular. And you could see she's much happier. She definitely didn't have the smile when she was a lawyer, but more notably. Did not. But she's also living and thriving, living her passion each and every day. Okay. So Fun Street here. Share with the listeners a movie that you love to rewatch.
Okay. So I'm a bit of a dork. I love Lord of the Rings. I don't actually like rewatching a lot of movies, but I'm a big fan of the trilogy. I even go Hobbit sometimes. And then I go on the very other side of that to Tommy Boy, because it just makes me laugh. So these are all my classics. There's some weird go-tos.
This is really funny. I'm sharing this story, and my wife doesn't listen to most of the episodes, but since she knows you, she might. On the first time we ever rented a movie, my wife was in law school in New York, and there was a Blockbuster video store. I'm dating myself. Across the street, and she goes, "Go get a video that we can watch tonight." And I had never seen Tommy Boy.
Oh,
This is a great movie, but this is not the movie to rent on like an early dating thing. She's like, oh my God, this guy likes this humor. I'm like singing fat guy in a little coat, you know.
I was just going to start singing fat guy in the little.
It's so good. We miss him, Chris Farley.
I know, he was amazing.
And getting back to the Lord of the Rings, those movies are so epic. They're so unbelievable. Did you read the books as a kid?
I didn't. I never read them as a kid. And then as a young adult, started getting into them. And then,
Nice.
We used to make a thing every year that, because the movies always came out on Christmas, my brother and I would go with my dad to the theater to watch the new one.
We're going to do the speed round of Fun Street here, and here's how it works.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, make you feel good, pump you up, motivate you, make you thrive, basically. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. A song that right now is your jam that you use to pump yourself up or listen to whenever you can.
Oh my gosh, anything Jay-Z.
Ooh, like that. Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Turkey burgers. Oh my God, that's so weird. I can't believe that came to my mind.
You must be hungry for turkey burgers. Favorite dessert?
Ice cream.
An
All
activity?
ice
Oh, ice cream. I was going to say, what flavor? Is there one flavor in particular?
I love mint chocolate chip or cookie dough.
Like it. Yeah. Is there a certain brand of ice cream that you like more than another?
Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, nice. Nice play. An activity you wish you did more of?
Sleeping.
It's a great one. I love that one. An activity you wish you did less of?
Gosh, I honestly, right now it's working out because it's my obsession and I can't do it while injured. So maybe mentally, I wish I would care less.
If I could snap my fingers and Rachel DeAlto can be anywhere, where are you?
Hawaii.
Where in Hawaii have you been?
Maui.
Maui. Nice. On the beach looking over at Lanai.
There's a cocktail in my hand.
Yeah, very nice. Doesn't suck. Rachel DeAlto, master connector, very relatable, very fun, totally thrives loud. We'll put all the plugs for your new book. Congratulations on that as it comes out this fall, 2021. Do we have a launch date?
September 7th.
September 7th, right after Labor Day. So you're done with Labor Day and now you need a book. Go get it. Excellent. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud.
Thanks, Lou.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.